Khonsu, the ancient Egyptian moon god, is typically depicted in art and iconography with distinctive features that symbolize his divine attributes and functions. His representations varied slightly over time and in different contexts, but some common elements remained consistent throughout Egyptian history. 1. Human form. Khonsu is most commonly depicted in human form. He appears as a young man, reflecting his youthful and vibrant nature, which is often associated with the renewal phases of the moon. 2. The moon disk. On his head, Khonsu typically wears a full lunar disk encircled by a crescent moon. This headdress is a clear symbol of his identity as a moon god and highlights his control over the night and its celestial sphere. 3. The side lock of youth. Often, Khonsu is shown with the side lock of youth, a hairstyle that was commonly worn by Egyptian children. This hairstyle emphasizes his aspects of youth and rejuvenation. 4. Mummy form. In many depictions, especially in statuary and relief work, Khonsu is shown in mummy form, wrapped like a mummy. This style signifies his connections to the underworld and his role in the protection and regeneration of the dead, aligning him with the cyclical nature of the moon, which dies and is reborn each month. 5. The crook and flail. Sometimes, Khonsu holds a crook and flail, symbols of kingship and rulership that are most famously associated with Osiris. When depicted with these items, Khonsu is emphasized as a protector and a ruler, showcasing his divine authority. 6. Falcon form. Less commonly, Khonsu is depicted with a falcon head, emphasizing his role as a divine protector, which links him to other protective deities like Horus. These elements together convey not only Khonsu's identity as a moon god, but also his broader roles as a god of time, healing, and protection. His iconography is rich with symbolism, reflecting his importance and multifaceted nature within the Egyptian pantheon. Origins and family. Khonsu was a member of the Theban triad, along with Ammonius, the king of the gods, and Mut, the mother goddess. He is often depicted as the son of these two powerful deities, placing him at the heart of one of the most influential cults in ancient Egypt. Depiction and symbolism. Khonsu is typically depicted as a mummy with the sidelock of youth, indicating his status as a young god. He often holds a scepter and a flail, symbols of rulership and fertility, and wears a lunar disk and crescent on his head. This headpiece underscores his identity as a moon god. Sometimes, he is shown with a falcon's head, emphasizing his role as a divine protector. Roles and attributes. 1. God of the Moon. Khonsu's primary role was as a god of the moon, which was crucial in the Egyptian understanding of time and the calendar. The moon cycles were used to measure time, and Khonsu was thus also associated with the passage of time. 2. Healer and protector. Khonsu was believed to have healing powers, particularly in terms of driving out evil spirits. His protective nature was invoked in various amulets and spells. His influence was especially pronounced in the protection of the king, and by extension, the nation. 3. The dangerous one. In some myths, Khonsu could be seen as a dangerous god. His aggressive aspect was capable of bringing about plagues and blights, reflecting the dual nature of his divine influence, both beneficial and malevolent. Mythology and worship. Khonsu played a role in several myths, most notably in the myth of the distant goddess. In this story, he helps convince a wandering goddess, often identified as Hathor, to return to Egypt, which was significant as her absence had caused chaos and disorder. His role in this myth underscores his importance in restoring balance and order. Cult and temples. Khonsu's primary center of worship was at Karnak, in Thebes, where he was worshipped as part of the Theban triad. His grand temple there, part of the Karnak complex, is one of the finest examples of Egyptian religious architecture. The temple includes a depiction of Khonsu's mythological role in the distant goddess myth, emphasizing his importance in the pantheon. Legacy. Throughout Egyptian history, Khonsu was seen as a god who was both complex and powerful. His dual nature as a healer and a bringer of plagues made him a deity to be both revered and appeased. His influence extends into various aspects of life and death in ancient Egypt, reflecting the ancient Egyptians' nuanced view of the divine as multifunctional and integral to everyday life and the cosmic order. Worship of Khonsu, the ancient Egyptian moon god, was deeply intertwined with the culture and religious practices of Egypt, particularly in Thebes, where he was a key figure in the Theban triad alongside Ammonius and Mut. Khonsu's worship reflects his roles as a god of the moon, healing, and protection, and his cult centers and rituals highlight his significance in ancient Egyptian religion. Cult centers. The primary center of Khonsu's worship was in Thebes, particularly at the Karnak temple complex. Here, Khonsu's Grand Temple, which is part of a larger religious complex dedicated to the Theban triad, showcases rich decorations and inscriptions that depict his mythological roles and importance. This temple was a focal point for his worship and was believed to be a place where Khonsu could manifest his powers, particularly those related to healing and protection. Temple architecture and reliefs. Khonsu's temple at Karnak is notable for its architectural beauty and the depth of its relief decorations. These decorations often illustrate scenes of Khonsu in various mythological contexts, demonstrating his powers and divine duties. For instance, scenes depicting Khonsu's involvement in the distant goddess myth emphasize his role in negotiating cosmic order and balance. Rituals and festivals. Rituals dedicated to Khonsu frequently involve processions and offerings. Moonlight processions, where statues of Khonsu were carried through the temple or along the avenues of Karnak, were particularly significant. These processions mirrored the journey of the moon across the night sky, symbolizing Khonsu's role in overseeing the passage of time and protecting against evil during the night. Offerings to Khonsu typically included food, drink, and incense, which were believed to sustain the god and invoke his favor. Special prayers and spells, especially those aimed at healing, were also a crucial part of his worship, reflecting his identity as a healer. Healing practices. Khonsu was believed to have immense healing powers, and people often sought his intervention for medical ailments. Temples dedicated to Khonsu served not only as religious centers, but also as places of healing. Sick individuals might sleep overnight in these temples, hoping for divine dreams that Khonsu would use to offer cures or guidance. Artistic representations. In art, Khonsu was often depicted as a young man with a sidelock of youth, wearing a lunar disc headdress, sometimes in mummy form to symbolize his connections to rebirth and the afterlife. These depictions served both a religious function and a protective one, as images of Khonsu were thought to ward off evil.